Hold him still, dude. I want to get the collar too. The hiss of spray paint cut through the Friday afternoon noise of the strip mall parking lot. A brown mutt, ribs faintly visible under his coat, yelped and tried to twist away as neon green paint streaked across his side. 3 teenagers in brand-name hoodies laughed, one of them holding his phone up, recording. Rusty didn't understand cameras. He only understood the burn in his eyes and the stink in his nose. He tried to back up, leash rattling against the shopping cart corral where it had been looped for just a minute. He pawed at his face, crying out again. "Come on, Tyler, that's enough," one of the other boys muttered, glancing at the glass front of the grocery store. "People are looking." Tyler, tall and smug with a varsity jacket hanging off one shoulder, grinned without turning. "Relax, it's for TikTok. Shelter mutt glow up, right?" He drew a crude smiley face on Rusty's flank, the can shaking as he laughed. Inside the store, in the pharmacy aisle, Owen Hale froze with a bottle of ibuprofen in his hand. That sound. He knew the difference between a playful bark and a pain yelp. This one cut straight through him like shrapnel from a memory he'd never quite dug out. Another dog, another night, a raid that went sideways. He abandoned the basket in the aisle and started walking, then jogging, toward the automatic doors. As he passed the customer service desk, the older cashier, Linda, looked up with wide eyes. "It's your dog, Officer Hale," she blurted, voice shaking. "They're hurting your dog." By the time the doors slid open, Owen's pulse had already shifted into that familiar, cold rhythm. The world narrowed, angles, distances, exits. Even in jeans and a faded navy hoodie, his body remembered the weight of armor he wasn't wearing. He stepped into the bright glare of the parking lot. Rusty was cowering against the metal rail, his brown coat streaked with neon green and hot pink. Paint mist hung in the air like a toxic fog. Tyler stood over him, grinning, phone in one hand, paint can in the other. 2 boys and a girl hovered behind him, their nervous laughter dying as they noticed Owen. "Hey." Owen's voice cracked like a command even without trying. "Drop the can. Back away from the dog." Tyler looked up, annoyed more than scared. He took in Owen's civilian clothes, the lack of badge, the grocery store behind him. "Just some guy. Relax, man." Tyler rolled his eyes and swung the can casually, paint rattling inside. "It's just a stray. We're giving him some color." Rusty heard Owen's voice and tried to get up, leash tangling around his paws. He whined, eyes red from the mist, sides heaving. "He's not a stray," Owen said, stepping closer. "He's mine. Back away. Now." The smallest of the kids, the girl with pink nails and an expensive haircut, tugged on Tyler's sleeve. "Ty, seriously, let's just go." Tyler's jaw tightened. Something in Owen's tone felt like a challenge, and he was not the kind of rich kid used to being told what to do by men in cheap hoodies. "What are you, the dog police?" Tyler sneered. He brought the can up again, this time aiming closer to Rusty's face. "Sit back down, mutt. We're not done." One moved. Fast. Years of training compressed into one smooth stride and a grab. His hand clamped around Tyler's wrist, thumb driving into a pressure point. The can clattered to the asphalt, rolling under a parked SUV. "Hey, let go of me." Tyler yanked, shocked. "You can't touch me, freak." The other teens started recording now too, phones snapping up like weapons. Owen could feel everyone watching. The mom loading groceries into a minivan, the old man in the beat-up pickup, Linda peering from inside. "Step back from my dog," Owen said quietly, every syllable edged. "Now." Tyler's eyes flashed with something like fear, quickly smothered by anger. "Do you have any idea who my dad is?" Owen met his gaze, haunted gray eyes steady. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Tyler opened his mouth to snap back, but behind Owen, sirens began to wail, growing louder, heading straight toward the strip mall. Tyler's smirk returned, slow and ugly. "Yeah. We're about to find out." The sirens screamed closer, echoing off the storefronts as Rusty trembled, paint dripping off his fur, watching his handler's face tighten in a way he'd only seen right before things got really, really bad. The patrol car swung into the lot fast enough to make Linda gasp from behind the glass. Its lights painted the parking spaces in frantic red and blue, reflections flashing off windshields and shopping carts. Owen didn't let go of Tyler's wrist. "Officer, over here," someone shouted. Phones stayed pointed, hungry for drama. The cruiser door flew open and a uniformed officer stepped out, hand resting on his sidearm. He was younger than Owen, early 30s, with a fresh haircut and a badge that still shone like he polished it every morning. "Hale?" The officer blinked. Recognition flickered. "What the?" "Garrett," Owen said, relief and frustration mixing. "Good timing." Tyler seized the moment. He jerked his wrist free, stumbling back toward his friends. He assaulted me. Tyler shouted, voice cracking just enough to sound wounded. Dude just grabbed me for no reason. Garrett's eyes ran over the scene, Rusty streaked with paint, trembling, the dropped can, the cluster of teens in expensive shoes and clean clothes, Owen in his hoodie, jaw clenched. What happened? Garrett asked, the cop and him, local cop, small town, caught in the middle. Owen forced his hands open, fingers tingling from the surge of adrenaline. They were spraying paint directly on my dog. Harassing him. I intervened before they blinded him. Tyler lifted his phone, showing Garrett a shaky clip that started right when Owen grabbed him. Conveniently, no paint, no laughter, no yelp. Dude went psycho, Tyler said. I was just petting the dog. Ask anyone. Rusty whimpered and tried to rub his muzzle against Owen's leg, leaving neon streaks on his jeans. The sight twisted something in Owen's chest. Another dog, another night. A flashbang, a gunshot, a K9 partner that didn't make it out. He swallowed hard. Garrett hesitated, looking between them. Hail man, off duty or not, you know you can't just put hands on kids. Kids. Owen echoed, disbelief sharp. They tortured a rescue dog for a video. That's not kids being kids. That's cruelty. Tyler snorted, crossing his arms. Oh, so you're one of those, like, animal rights psychos? Maybe you shouldn't bring your mutt to public places if you can't control him. Rusty shrank at the word, mutt, ears pinned. Owen felt his restraint fray. Show Garrett the rest of the video, he said, voice low. Tyler's smirk returned. Oops. Must have hit stop by accident. One of the other boys shifted uncomfortably, but kept his mouth shut. The girl chewed her lip, eyes darting from Rusty's trembling frame to Owen's hardened expression. We can pull security footage from the store, Owen added, nodding toward the entrance. Cameras faced the lot. Garrett rubbed the back of his neck, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Look, let's just all calm down. Nobody's hurt. Owen's gaze dropped to Rusty's red, watering eyes. Tell him that. Before Garrett could answer, the growl of a larger engine rolled into the lot. A lifted black truck, shiny, aggressive, too large for the space, pulled up beside the cruiser. The driver stepped out, sunglasses flashing, suit jacket too expensive for this side of town. Tyler, he barked. Tyler's shoulders relaxed instantly. Dad. Garrett's face went pale. Mr. Langford. Of course. Langford. Developer. Donor. Golf buddy of half the department brass. Owen felt an old, familiar bitterness rise. What's going on? Langford demanded, already stepping toward his son, already shaping the narrative in his head. Why is my boy surrounded by cops and some guy with a dirty dog? Owen met his eyes. Your boy just sprayed paint in this dog's face for fun. Langford didn't even glance at Rusty. His gaze skimmed Owen up and down, landing on the scuffed boots, the faded hoodie. And you are. Owen held that gaze, unblinking. The dog's handler. Langford's lips curled. Well, handler, you're about to learn what happens when you lay a hand on my kid. Rusty let out a low, rumbling growl, something he almost never did, fur bristling under the streaks of neon. Langford took a single, involuntary step back, surprised by the sound. Garrett shifted, caught between power and truth. Mr. Langford, maybe we should all go inside, review the footage, talk this out. Langford cut him off with a sharp gesture. No. We're not doing some witch hunt over an animal. You will take my son's statement and you will make sure this person understands he can't assault minors in this town. Owen felt the weight of his badge back home on his dresser, the SWAT patch folded next to it. He hadn't wanted to pull rank. He'd wanted to be just another citizen defending his dog. But looking at Langford's smug face, hearing Rusty's shaky breath at his side, he realized something. If he stayed just another citizen, they were going to get away with it. He straightened, shoulders squaring, the soldier in him standing up. You really want to do this, Mr. Langford? He asked quietly. Because if we're playing the who are you game, you should probably know I'm not just some guy with a dog. Rusty lifted his head, sensing the shift. Garrett stared at him, suddenly remembering every whispered story about Owen Hale and what he did in a different uniform on different nights. Owen, he said slowly, maybe you should tell them where you actually work. If you want to know how this story ends, subscribe to the channel and don't miss the next chapters. Rusty's not done with these bullies yet. For a moment, the parking lot went oddly quiet. Even the buzz of the lights and the low hum of engines seemed to fade as everyone waited to see what Owen would say. He didn't make a speech. He didn't raise his voice. I'm a SWAT officer, he said simply. County Tactical Unit. Tyler's laugh came out too high. Yeah, right? Garrett cleared his throat. He's not kidding, Ty. Langford's eyes narrowed behind his sunglasses, recalculating. Off duty then, he said. Which means you're just a man in a hoodie who grabbed my son. Rusty pressed against Owen's leg, leaving another smear of neon. The paint smell made Owen's head swim. It means, Owen replied, I know exactly what your son just did and what it says about him. And I know the law. Animal cruelty is a crime here. I'll buy your mutt a bath. We done. Langford snapped. Owen swallowed the urge to tell him about the canine he'd lost, about how you don't just wipe off trauma with warm water and a coupon at the groomer's. Instead, he bent down and checked Rusty's eyes. The dog blinked hard, streaming tears, flinching when Owen's thumb came near. We need a vet, he said softly. To Garrett he added, get the footage. If the department decides to bury it, I'll take it higher. That was the thing about being SWAT. You saw enough rot to know where the weak spots were in any structure, including the one you worked for. Langford's jaw flexed. Are you threatening me? Owen stood, meeting him eye to eye. No. I'm promising that your son is not going to keep doing this to anyone, or anything, without consequences. Tyler stepped closer, face twisted. You gonna raid my house, officer? Kick down my door, 'cause of some dirty mutt? Rusty's growl deepened. Owen laid a calming hand on his head. Go home, kid, he said. And pray you grow up before someone gets really hurt. They left it there, for the moment. Garrett mumbled something about reports. Langford herded his son into the truck, already on his phone, probably dialing someone with more stars on their shoulder. An hour later, after the emergency vet flushed Rusty's eyes and shaved patches of his stained fur, Owen sat on the floor of his small living room, back against the couch. Rusty's head rested on his thigh, wrapped in a towel that used to be white. Rusty's adoption papers sat on the coffee table, edges worn. Former stray. Found behind a warehouse. Scared of loud noises but eager to please. When they'd met at the shelter, Rusty had walked past every volunteer and gone straight to Owen, pressing his head into Owen's knee like he'd recognized an old hurt. You were supposed to get a quiet life, Owen murmured now, scratching behind Rusty's ears. Not this. Rusty sighed, eyes half closed. Outside, a car rolled by, bass thumping. He tensed, then relaxed when Owen's hand stayed steady. Owen's phone buzzed. A text from Garrett. Footage exists. Boss already got a call. Langford wants it gone. I'll let you know what happens. What happens? Owen knew how those stories usually ended. The powerful made a call, the file went missing, the boys will be boys crowd chalked it up to harmless fun. Except Rusty's eyes had been red. And Owen's hands had been shaking, not from fear of Langford but from something older. The last time he'd heard a dog scream like that, there had been gunfire a second later and then a silence that lasted years. He couldn't let it slide. Not this time. The next day the evidence that nothing had really changed showed up in spray paint. Owen came home from a quick shift, training day, no calls, just drills and stale coffee, to find Rusty barking at the front door, fur puffed out. A sour chemical tang hung in the air. On his small front porch, on the cheap siding he'd painted himself, someone had drawn a crude dog with excess for eyes and the words, "Control your mutt or we'll paint your whole house." The letters dripped, still wet. Rusty pawed at the door, whining. Owen stepped out, scanning the street. A lifted truck turned the corner 2 blocks down, taillights flashing. He couldn't prove it was Langford's. Didn't have to. He took in the threat, the shaky edges of the letters, teen hands, not adult, and felt that cold SWAT calm lock into place. This wasn't just about a prank anymore. It was escalation. He snapped a photo of the graffiti, then another of Rusty's anxious face. This just turned into a case, he told the dog quietly. Rusty tilted his head as if he understood. Across town, in a sagging duplex with peeling paint, a retired Army mechanic named Frank Delaney would soon wake up to find similar neon tags sprayed across his fence and front door. But instead of a threat about a dog, his would say, "Old loser. Go die." And Rusty and Owen were about to find out that the bullies' cruelty didn't stop with spray paint, because the next time, it wouldn't be a dog they cornered. The call came in just after sunset, painting the sky over the small town in bruised purple and orange. Owen was in the SWAT locker room, stowing his gear after a day of training, when his phone buzzed again. This time, Garrett's name lighting up the screen. He almost let it go to voicemail. Then he saw the preview. "You seeing the neighborhood group chat?" He frowned and opened it. Screenshots flooded the message thread. Photos from the tired little neighborhood across the tracks. Old Frank's place. Neon paint dripping down white picket boards that had seen better decades. The words "old loser. Go die" scrawled across the front door. Another shot of Frank himself, standing in his threadbare robe, shoulders slumped, while a couple of neighbors tried to scrub the paint off with rags and buckets. In the corner of one photo, near the curb, Owen spotted the edge of a familiar varsity jacket sleeve. His jaw clenched. He dialed Garrett immediately. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Garrett asked without hello. "Tyler," Owen said. Neighbors heard him and his buddies laughing, driving off in some big truck. No plates remembered, of course. No one wants to swear to anything. "Frank okay?" Owen asked. Garrett hesitated. Shaken. He thought it was kids at first. But someone sprayed his little dog's crate too. Something moved in the background of Garrett's voice. Dispatch radios, the low murmur of officers. "You know Langford's gonna call this pranks?" Garrett added. "He already complained about your attitude yesterday." Owen looked at the spray-painted threat on his own phone screen again. "Control your mutt." His gaze drifted to a photo on the locker door. Rusty sitting proudly in a basic obedience class, tongue out, head crooked. "Maybe it's time someone made clear this isn't just about paint," Owen said. "Frank's a vet. That door tag is psychological warfare." "You're not going to like what I heard about the store footage," Garrett said quietly. "Chief got a call. Footage is missing. Glitch. Nothing to see. Of course. The machine protecting itself." Owen exhaled through his nose, steadying his thoughts like he did on a stack-up before breaching a door. Different battlefield, same rules. Innocence on one side, threats on the other, and a clock ticking over everyone's head. "Where's Tyler tonight?" Owen asked. Garrett snorted. "If I had to guess? Showing off that same spray-painted jacket at the high school parking lot. Big game. Half the town's there. Half the town, including people who'd heard just enough about the SWAT guy with the painted dog, to start forming their own opinions." "All right," Owen said. "I'll talk to him." "You sure that's a good idea?" Garrett asked. "Off duty? With everything already heated?" Owen glanced at his locker. SWAT uniform hanging in perfect, deadly order. Helmet on the shelf. Breach tools. Flashbangs. Tools for when the situation already went entirely to hell. He chose jeans and his leather jacket instead. "I'm not going as SWAT," he said. "I'm going as Rusty's handler. As Frank's neighbor." Rusty met him at the front door with a low, questioning whine when Owen got home. The dog sniffed the faint trace of chemical stink on Owen's jacket, then glanced at the porch where the threat had been. Owen had scrubbed it off, but the ghost of the words lived in his mind. "Come on," Owen told him, clipping on the leash. "You're coming with me." They walked to the high school as the last of the sunlight bled into night. The parking lot was a chaos of pickup trucks, sedans, and kids in team colors. The floodlights over the field cast everything in harsh white. Rusty stayed glued to Owen's side, ears swiveling at the shouts, whistles, and crack of helmets on pads. Loud environment still made him flinch. Owen squeezed the leash just enough to send comfort down the line. They spotted Tyler before Tyler spotted them. He was leaning against the hood of that same lifted black truck, surrounded by friends and hangers-on. His varsity jacket had a fresh neon streak across the back, like a badge of honor. Rusty's tail dropped. A low, warning rumble vibrated in his chest. "Easy," Owen murmured. "Heel." They approached. A couple of kids noticed first, nudging each other. "That's the dog," one whispered. "The painted one." Tyler turned, blue plastic cup in hand, and froze for a split second when he saw Rusty's still faint stains and Owen's steady gaze. "Wow," Tyler said loudly so everyone could hear. "You actually brought the mutt to a game. Kinda brave, considering he likes to attack innocent teens." Laughter scattered through the group, nervous and eager. Rusty's ears flattened, but he pressed closer to Owen's leg instead of lunging. "Good boy. You hit Frank Delaney's house," Owen said without preamble. "You wrote on his door. On his dog's crate." Tyler's smile turned sharper. "Got any proof, officer? Or are you just profiling now?" A tall girl with a cheer hoodie shifted uneasily. "Ty, maybe?" "Relax, Haley," Tyler cut her off. "We didn't hurt anyone. Old man needs a new paint job anyway." Owen stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Tyler could hear. "You think this stops at paint? You think you can keep escalating and nothing breaks?" Tyler leaned in too, smirking. "You gonna arrest me? Kick in my daddy's door? Put your precious mutt on the stand?" Behind Owen, someone jostled through the crowd. A small figure, backpack hanging off one shoulder, nearly collided with Rusty. The dog twisted to avoid stepping on her foot, tail flicking. "Sorry," the girl muttered, then froze when she recognized Tyler. Her face drained of color. "Hey look," Tyler said, eyes lighting up with the mean excitement of a predator spotting another target. "If it isn't Emily Delaney. How's your grandpa's new wall art?" Emily clutched her backpack strap tighter. "Just, leave him alone, Tyler." Rusty sniffed her hand, then gave it a tentative lick. She startled, then managed a tiny smile down at him. Tyler saw it, and something ugly flashed in his eyes. "You know that mutt almost got me arrested?" he said loudly for Emily's benefit. "Maybe next time we'll see how he likes getting painted in the middle of the field." The crowd tittered. Some kids looked away ashamed. None stepped forward. Owen felt the weight of a dozen young faces watching him, seeing if the adult who was supposed to protect would actually do it. "You're done," Owen told Tyler softly. "You just don't know it yet." He turned to Emily. "You okay getting home after the game?" he asked. She hesitated. I usually walk. Mom works late at the diner. Grandpa can't drive at night." "I'll keep an eye out for you," Owen said. "You see that truck near you, you text this number." He scribbled his cell on her hand with a stubby pen. Tyler watched, jaw working, cheeks flushed with drink in defiance. "You're making this a lot bigger than it needs to be, officer." Owen looked back at him. "No," he said. "You did that the minute you decided other people's fear was your entertainment." As the national anthem started playing and everyone turned toward the field, Rusty didn't look at the flag. He kept his gaze locked on Tyler and that lifted truck, ears forward, like he knew that somewhere between tonight and whatever came next, the line between prank and crime was about to shatter. And somewhere under the bleachers, a different plan was already in motion. One that would drag SWAT, Rusty, Emily, and the entire school into a night none of them would forget. The call-out came in halfway through the third quarter. Owen was halfway home with Rusty, the crowd noise fading behind him, when his duty phone vibrated with the emergency tone that cut through any off-duty status like a bolt of ice. He checked the screen. "Group alert, possible active threat, high school geo. All SWAT respond." His stomach dropped. He looked back. The stadium lights loomed in the distance, white against the dark. Sirens were already starting somewhere across town, converging like vultures. Rusty whined, picking up on the shift in his handler's body. "Back in the truck," Owen said, pivoting. He practically dragged Rusty into the cab, heart already in tactical mode. Radio channels, angles, floor plans he'd memorized during dull safety inspections. By the time he screeched into the growing chaos of the high school lot, he'd thrown on his vest from the back seat and clipped his badge where it could be seen. The SWAT van pulled in behind him, lights strobing. Parents screamed, some running toward the building, some away. Kids streamed out from the stands, clutching phones, crying, live recording their own terror. Rusty barked at the cacophony, nails scrambling on the truck seat. "Stay," Owen told him, pointing. Rusty froze, torn but obeyed. Owen sprinted to the command post where his team was already unrolling maps. Captain Ruiz shoved a rifle into his hands without preamble. "Jim," she said. Anonymous text said a kid had a gun during the game. Most of the crowd's outside now, but a group of students ran into the gym to hide. "We've got unconfirmed reports someone's in there waving a weapon." "Shooter?" Owen asked, snapping a mag in. Could be a BB gun. Either way, we treat it like real steel." Owen's mind flashed to Tyler, to the smirk, to the way kids like him liked realism in their toys. "Any names?" he pressed. "Got a partial from a panicked coach. Lang?" before the line cut. "Could be Langston." "Could be Langford," Owen said. Ruiz's eyes sharpened. "Something you want to tell me, Hale?" "After we get them out," he said. "We moving?" They stacked up on the side entrance designated in every safety protocol. Steel door, cinderblock wall, limited sightlines. Owen's shoulder settled into its familiar place, third man in. The world narrowed to breath, trigger, angles. Inside, sneakers squeaked and someone sobbed. A voice, young, male, too loud, echoed off the gym's walls. "Sit down." I said, "Sit down." Ruiz gave the signal. The ram hit the door. They flowed in, a black wave of armor and discipline. The scene inside was chaos pressed into stillness. About 15 kids huddled on the polished floor, backs against the bleachers, eyes huge. In front of them, arm extended with something black and gun-shaped in his hand. Tyler. His varsity jacket glowed under the gym lights. The gun looked real enough to make Owen's finger tighten on his trigger. Later they'd learn it was an airsoft pistol with the orange tip painted over. Right now it didn't matter. "Police!" Ruiz shouted. "Drop the weapon." Tyler spun, eyes wild. For the first time, Owen saw something like real fear in them. Not fear of getting in trouble, fear of losing control. Back off. Tyler yelled, voice cracking. He grabbed the nearest student, Emily, and yanked her up, dragging her in front of him like a shield. She cried out, backpack slipping. Rusty's scent hit Owen a split second before he heard the bark. He whipped his head toward the side door opposite theirs, slightly ajar, his heart stopping. Rusty stood there, chest heaving, fur still faintly stained. He must have slipped out of the truck, nosed the door open, followed the panic scent to the gym. Rusty, no. Owen hissed, but the dog didn't rush forward. Instead, he dropped low to the ground, eyes locked on Emily, body vibrating with focused tension. Drop it, kid, Ruiz ordered again. The team fanned out, lasers painting Tyler's chest. Nobody has to get hurt tonight. It's not real. Tyler shouted, voice shaking. It's a joke. We were making a video and they freaked out and... Then put it on the ground and step away from the girl, Owen said, moving just enough to draw Tyler's gaze. End the joke. Emily sobbed, whispering, please, 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 against Tyler's arm. Rusty crawled, inch by inch, around the perimeter, keeping low, silent now. He was heading toward Emily, toward her ankles. Owen realized with a jolt what the dog was doing, trying to get close enough to yank her free if he had to. Shut up. Tyler barked at Emily, tightening his grip. The barrel of the airsoft pistol trembled, sweeping dangerously close to her head, then the SWAT line. One nervous finger spasm, one misread twitch, and someone's life would end on a gym floor streaked with neon slogans and school pride. Look at me, Tyler, Owen said, voice low but cutting through the echo. Not at them, not at your live stream, not at your dad's voice in your head. Look at me. Tyler's breath hitched. His eyes flicked to Owen. There it is, Owen murmured. You scared yet? 'Cause you should be. Not of us. Of what you're about to become if you don't stop right now. I didn't mean, Tyler started, but his voice broke. Rusty reached Emily's leg. He pressed his muzzle gently against her calf. She startled, but didn't scream. Her fingers twitched at her side, brushing his ear like she remembered that single lick in the parking lot. Good girl, Owen whispered, though he knew she couldn't hear him. Trust him. Ruiz hissed, hail, warning in her tone. This wasn't in the textbook. On my count, Owen said softly, more to Rusty than to anyone else. 3, 2. Tyler's eyes widened, pupils blown. His finger tightened on the trigger. Real or not, it looked real in every way that mattered. 1. Rusty lunged. He didn't go for Tyler. He went for Emily's ankle, teeth closing on her pant leg just enough to yank. She dropped suddenly, legs giving out. Tyler's grip slipped. For a heartbeat he was exposed, center mass open, weapon floating free of any human shield. Every laser dot on his chest burned like a promise. Tyler jerked in shock, flailing for balance, the airsoft pistol swinging wildly. And in that frozen knife-edge second, between Rusty's move and the first officer's decision whether to fire, the whole night balanced on a single pull of a plastic trigger. Tyler's finger clenched. The gun barked. And Owen, sight picture full of a kid who had crossed every line and dragged an innocent girl with him, had to decide in less than a breath if he would take the shot. The crack of the shot snapped through the gym like a whip. Emily screamed. Kids ducked, some throwing themselves flat, hands over their heads. A couple of officers flinched, triggers half squeezed. Owen felt the impact like a punch on his vest, right over the ribs. Not the deep, pulverizing shock of a real round, more like a sledgehammer made of plastic and bad decisions. And unlethal, he yelled before his brain finished the thought. Airsoft. Hold fire. That single word, hold, stole the bullet from half a dozen barrels. Trigger fingers eased back. Ruiz's jaw clenched, but she didn't give the order to shoot. Tyler's eyes went huge when he realized what he'd done, what had almost happened. His grip on Emily slipped completely. Rusty released her pant leg and launched upward, not at Tyler's face or hands but at his jacket. His teeth locked onto the thick fabric at Tyler's shoulder and yanked backward with all the furious strength a 35-pound mutt could summon. Tyler spun off balance. The airsoft pistol flew from his hand, skidding across the polished wood. An officer kicked it away on instinct. Weapon down, someone called. Hands where I can see them. Ruiz barked. Tyler hit the floor, Rusty still hanging onto his jacket like a living anchor. The dog didn't bite flesh. Even now, with adrenaline burning through him, he knew the difference between cloth and skin. 2 operators rushed in, pinning Tyler's arms, cuffing him before the echo of the shot fully died. Emily scrambled backward on hands and heels, gulping air, eyes locked on Rusty. He let go of the jacket, turned to her, and gave a quick, anxious lick to her hand like he was checking she was intact. She sobbed, and then flung her arms around his neck. "I got you," Owen said hoarsely, rifle lowering at last. "I got all of you." Kids started crying harder now that it was over. The delayed reaction. A coach staggered in from a side door, face chalk white. One of the boys threw up in the trash can by the bleachers. Tyler lay on his stomach, cheek pressed to the hardwood, hyperventilating. "It was just a prank," he gasped. "It was just a prank, it was just a—" "Pranks don't make SWAT point guns at you," Ruiz said, voice flat. "You're done talking." Outside, the parking lot exploded in sirens and news vans. Word traveled at light speed: active shooter, hostage situation, SWAT at the high school. Parents shoved at police tape, demanding answers. Someone already had Tyler's airsoft gun on a live stream, making it look 10 times more real. Owen knelt briefly by Rusty, fingers slipping through stained fur. "You did good, buddy," he whispered. His hand shook with the come down. He could already see the headline if he'd misread that impact, if he hadn't called non-lethal fast enough. One dead rich kid. One ruined team. One town torn in half. Instead, he was staring at a shaking teenager who just looked down the barrels of half the tactical unit in the county, and still didn't fully grasp how close to a grave he'd come. As they hauled Tyler up, he twisted to look at Owen. Behind the bravado there was a tremor, a question. You weren't gonna really shoot me," he said, voice small enough that only Owen heard. Owen held his gaze, haunted eyes steady. "Kid," he murmured, "you pointed what looked like a gun at a crowd and pulled the trigger. You have no idea how close you came to finding out." They led Tyler out in cuffs. Minutes later, as Owen stepped into the parking lot with Rusty at heel, the crowd of parents surged. Phones, questions, anger. Emily's mom, still in her diner uniform, apron smudged, burst through the line and grabbed her daughter in a crushing hug. Then a black luxury SUV slid in through the mess like it owned the asphalt. Langford stepped out, face carved in outrage, eyes locking not on his son waving from the back of a squad car, but on Rusty. "You," he said to Owen, pointing. "You brought that animal into my son's school and set him on Tyler. I'll see you fired for this." And just like that, in the glare of a dozen recording phones, Owen realized the next fight wouldn't be in a gym with a fake gun. It would be in offices and hearings and living rooms, where people decided whether Rusty was a hero or a weapon to blame. By morning, the town had split into two versions of reality. On one side, grainy clips of a scared kid on a gym floor, hands cuffed, a brown dog on his jacket. Parents on social media talking about overreaction, toy guns, and why was a SWAT dog even near our kids? On the other, a small, exhausted girl named Emily who woke up shaking from nightmares of fluorescent lights and plastic guns, and a retired mechanic named Frank scrubbing neon hatred off his porch with arthritic hands. Owen sat at his kitchen table, still in sweatpants and a t-shirt, a mug of coffee cooling untouched. Rusty lay at his feet, chin on his boot, watching his face like it contained the whole weather report of his world. The TV murmured in the background. "The department confirms that the SWAT officer involved has been placed on administrative leave pending review of protocol, including the presence of an off-duty dog at an active incident." Owen muted it. Administrative leave. Badge turned in for the week. No calls, no squad room, no armor. Just paperwork, interviews, and the slow churn of people deciding whether he'd broken faith with the rules to save someone, or to satisfy some personal grudge against a rich boy. His phone buzzed again. Text from Ruiz: "IA interview at 2. Don't say anything about Langford until you have to. They're already getting calls from his lawyer." Another buzz from an unknown number, a screenshot of a community Facebook post. "Did anyone else see the hero dog practically attack that poor boy in the gym? This is why you don't bring unpredictable shelter animals near children. What if it had snapped?" Owen looked down at Rusty, who had pressed himself between a teenager with a fake gun and the girl he was using as a shield, and chosen cloth over skin. "You snapped real hard, didn't you?" Owen murmured. Rusty's tail thumped weakly. Knuckles rapped on his door. Rusty's ears pricked. He gave a warning woof, then relaxed as the familiar scent seeped under the frame. Garrett stood on the porch, hair mussed, tie askew, looking like he hadn't slept either. He glanced at the faint remnants of neon still caught in the cracks of the siding, the ghost of that earlier threat. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Depends," Owen said. "You bringing bad news or worse news?" Garrett huffed. "Bit of both." They sat. Rusty wedged himself between their chairs, head on Owen's knee, tail thumping once against Garrett's shoe. "Chiefs rattled," Garrett said. Langford already left a voicemail about uncontrolled animals and rogue SWAT officers terrorizing minors. He's hinting at media interviews. Lawsuits. Owen's jaw tightened. And the paint on my dog? Frank's door? The fake gun in a gym full of kids. Garrett lifted his hands. I'm on your side, man. But Langford has friends. They're spinning this as you using a trained attack dog off duty to punish a kid. They're pushing hard on Emily hugging Rusty after, saying you used the dog to manipulate victims. Rusty snorted softly as if offended. I's gonna ask why Rusty was there at all, Garrett continued. Why you didn't lock him in the truck. Why you didn't immediately remove him when you saw the threat. Owen swallowed. The truth tasted a lot like guilt. Because I'm human, he said finally. Because the last time a dog saved my life he never walked out of the building. Because when Rusty slipped out I didn't send him back, I let him stay where I could see him. He didn't have to say the rest. The raid years ago. The K-9 partner who'd taken the bullet meant for him. The funeral with the tiny flag on the coffin. Garrett's expression softened. They don't know that story. They shouldn't have to, Owen said. All they should know is that he kept a girl from being a human shield. Garrett glanced at Rusty then back at Owen. There is some good news buried in this mess. He pulled out his phone, opened a video and set it on the table. Owen watched as the screen filled with the strip mall parking lot from 2 days earlier. Rusty tied to the cart rack, Tyler laughing, neon mist spraying, the yelp that had pulled Owen from the pharmacy aisle. This time it didn't cut off when Owen grabbed Tyler's wrist. It ran long enough to show the paint, the phone, the words. That's Haley's recording, Garrett said. She pretended to delete it when Tyler demanded it. Saved it to a hidden folder instead. Send it to me this morning. She's scared but she's ready to talk. Owen stared at the screen. Rusty yelped again, smaller on video but just as sharp in his memory. His hands shook. This shows a pattern, Garrett said quietly. Not a one-time prank. We've got your porch. Frank's door. The gym. Now this. A pattern of escalation, Owen murmured. Garrett nodded. We give this to IA, the DA, whoever needs to see it. Langford can spin but he can't erase pixels. Rusty nudged Owen's hand as if to say keep going. Owen exhaled slowly. All right, he said. We push back. He reached for his mug, found it cold and set it aside. But if we corner them they're going to lash out. Tyler's scared now. Scared people do stupid, dangerous things. Garrett frowned. You think he's done? Owen looked at the faint paint in his dog's fur, at the text on Emily's hand where he'd written his number, at the shaky breaths on that gym video. No, he said. I think this is the part of the story where the villain realizes he's not invincible, and decides if he's going to grow up, or go nuclear. As if on cue, Owen's phone buzzed again. This time it was Emily. Her message was only 4 words, he was outside our house. And attached was a blurry photo through curtain glass, of that same lifted black truck idling by her curb, headlights off. Owen was out the door before the message finished sending. Rusty leapt into the passenger seat without being told, nails clicking, eyes alert. The truck's engine growled to life, tires squealing as Owen pulled away from the curb, every instinct screaming too late, too late. Stay on the phone, he told Emily, hitting call. Are you inside? Are the doors locked? Why yeah, she whispered. Sirens wailed faintly in the background, from his end, not hers. He was just sitting there. I think he saw me at the window. Anybody else home? Grandpa's in his chair. He's shaking. He hates headlights in the street at night. Of course he does, Owen thought. The man had spent years in convoys overseas. Headlights in the dark meant trouble. Don't open the door for anyone, Owen said. I'm 2 minutes out. If he gets out of the truck, you get you and your grandpa into the back room and stay away from the windows. Rusty whined, nostrils flaring as if he could already smell Emily's fear through the speaker. By the time Owen turned onto Frank's block, the lifted black truck was still there, engine idling, music bass thudding low. Tyler sat behind the wheel, face ghostly in the glow of his phone. Another boy slouched in the passenger seat, eyes hard, jaw clenched. Owen killed his lights and rolled up quietly, parking half a house down. Rusty's growl rumbled in the cab, low and focused. Easy, Owen murmured. We're doing this smart. He hit record on his own phone, slipped it into his pocket, then stepped out into the cool night air. His badge hung openly on his neck, catching streetlight. Evening, he called, voice conversational as if they were neighbors talking about trash pickup. Tyler flinched. The truck rocked as his foot hit the brake too hard. He recovered, scowling, rolling the window down just enough for sound. You're not supposed to be working, Tyler said. You're on, like, suspension or whatever. I'm on leave, Owen corrected. Doesn't mean I stopped caring what happens to my neighbors. You lost, or is stalking victims part of your next prank video? Tyler's friend shifted uncomfortably. Dude, let's just go, he muttered. This is dumb. Shut up, Mason, Tyler snapped. He looked back at Owen. I'm parked on a public street. Not a crime. Yet, Owen said. But here's what is: witness intimidation. Harassment. Violating a restraining order, which Emily's mom is filing first thing in the morning. Tyler's fingers tightened on the wheel. I didn't do anything. You came to the house of the girl you grabbed in a gym last night, Owen said. You sat in front with the engine running so her grandpa could see the headlights. You knew exactly what you were doing. Owen took a step closer. Rusty jumped down from Owen's truck and padded to his side, body low but calm, eyes never leaving Tyler's face. She's scared of you, Owen went on. And that's your fault, not mine. Not hers. Yours. You messed up, Tyler. You hurt people. This is the part where you stop, or prove to every judge and jury that you're exactly as dangerous as you look on camera. For the first time, Tyler's confidence cracked. They're gonna ruin my life over a BB gun, he muttered, voice wobbling. Over some paint. Over a joke. You're doing a pretty good job of ruining it yourself, Owen said. Go home. Rusty stepped forward, one paw on the asphalt, lip curling just enough to show a hint of teeth, not a snarl but a warning. His whole body said you heard him. Tyler's gaze flicked to the dog, to the faint stain still streaking his fur. Guilt or something like it, flickered. Then headlights swung onto the street from the other end. A patrol car rolled up slow, spotlight sweeping. Garrett leaned out the window. Everything good here? He called. Tyler swore under his breath. You called backup? Neighborhood watch is very active these days, Owen said. You'd be amazed what they text us. For a moment, Tyler looked 12 instead of 17. He said it would go away, he mumbled, more to himself than to them. Who? Garrett asked, though they all knew. My dad, Tyler whispered. He said money fixes things. Garrett killed the siren, engine ticking. Sure. It can buy lawyers. PR. But it can't make Rusty's fur clean or Emily sleep without nightmares. Tyler's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. You're all against me, he spat. No, Owen said. We're standing between you and the edge of a cliff you keep running toward. Tyler's gaze hardened again. You can't stop me from seeing my friends. From leaving my house. From living my life. Maybe not tonight, Owen said. But there's something you should know. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen, bringing up Haley's video. The parking lot. The paint. The yelp. He held it up where Tyler could see. Tyler watched his own smirk, his own hand shaking the can, the way he'd drawn that stupid smiley face on Rusty's side. His lips moved, repeating the words he'd mocked. Shelter mutt glow up, right? The color drained from his face. Haley, he whispered. She was supposed to delete that. She didn't, Garrett said. She's going to the station tomorrow. Along with Emily. Along with Frank. Along with my report from tonight. Something in Tyler's expression snapped. Not the bravado, that was already crumbling, but the thin thread of control. You're gonna take everything from me, he choked. You're gonna make sure I never get into college, never get out of this town, never? Tyler, Mason muttered, panic creeping in. Don't. Tyler slammed the truck into gear. You can't cage me, he snarled, eyes wild. You don't get to ruin my life. He floored it. Owen yanked Rusty back just in time as the truck roared past, missing them by inches. Tyler screamed. Garrett dove into his cruiser, sirens erupting. For a heartbeat, Owen thought Tyler might just flee home, hide behind his father again. But as the taillights vanished around the corner, a colder thought hit him. Scared, cornered, convinced he had nothing left to lose. Kids like that didn't always run away. Sometimes they ran toward something, with a trunk full of stupid, deadly ideas. 2 hours later, Owen stood in the dim glow of a gas station on the edge of town, heart hammering as the pieces clicked together. Garrett's radio crackled in his ear. We've got a bolo on the truck. No sign at the house. Langford says he doesn't know where Tyler went, but his eyes were doing that thing. Owen stared at the security camera feed on the clerk's tiny monitor. The footage was grainy, but the shape was unmistakable. Lifted black truck pulled around the side of the building, out of sight of the pumps. 2 figures at the open tailgate, one pacing, one rummaging. Rusty sat at Owen's side inside the cramped back office, nose twitching. The clerk, a tired man in a grease-stained polo, had let them in reluctantly after Owen flashed his badge. "Play it back again from when they pull in," Owen said. The clerk grumbled but hit the keys. They watched Tyler's truck roll into the frame, stop by the side of the building. The timestamp matched 15 minutes after Tyler had roared away from Emily's house. He and Mason hopped out, glancing around like kids about to light fireworks where they shouldn't. Mason opened the tailgate. Tyler reached in and pulled something bulky from a duffel. The resolution was bad, but Owen's stomach flipped. "That wasn't airsoft." "Pause," he said. Zoom. Pixels smeared, but the outline remained unmistakable. Full-sized handgun. No orange tip. No plastic shine. Heavy. "You sell airsoft guns here?" Owen asked the clerk. The man scoffed. "Not since that last law. Only thing we got that looks like that is behind a locked case." He swallowed. "Those boys bought duct tape though. And spray paint. Paid cash. Duct tape. Paint. Real gun." Owen scrubbed a hand over his face. "He thinks we're going to take his life away," he murmured. "He's panicking. Maybe he's trying to scare someone into backing off. Maybe worse." Rusty whined softly, leaning into his leg. The radio crackled again. Garrett's voice tight. "Hale, we got something. Neighbor at the school just called. Says she saw that black truck by the stadium again. Nobody's supposed to be there, just the janitor. We're en route." Of course. The school. The scene of his humiliation. The place where he'd still feel powerful, even in his shame. "I'm closer," Owen said into the mic 3 minutes out. "I'll hold perimeter until backup arrives." He jogged for the door. Rusty kept pace, tail low but steady. "You are not coming in this time," Owen told him as they climbed into the truck. "You hear me? You stay with me but you don't go inside." Rusty blinked at him, then put one paw gently on Owen's arm as if to say, "We go together." The school loomed out of the darkness like a shipwreck. Most lights were off now, just emergency markers and a glow from the main entrance. Owen parked a half block away, cut his engine and approached on foot, using the trees and parked buses as cover. Rusty trotted at his heel, every sense stretched taut. Voices drifted on the night air. One high and frantic, "Tyler." One lower, shaky, "Mason." "Not gonna actually shoot anyone, right?" Mason was saying. "Relax," Tyler hissed. "I just need them to know I'm not some joke they can cancel. I scare them a little, they back off, my dad fixes the rest." "Dude, there's cameras everywhere," Mason said. "We already." "Cameras that my dad's friends control," Tyler snapped. "And Hale's going down anyway. They're all saying he sicked his mutt on me. I'm not the villain here. I'm the one they're trying to erase." Owen peeked around the corner. The truck was parked near the gym doors again. Tyler paced with the gun in his hand, barrel occasionally swinging toward the building, not at anyone but the intent was there. Mason hugged himself, eyes glued to the weapon. Rusty's lip lifted, a low growl vibrating under his ribs. "Stay," Owen breathed. "Guard." He stepped out, hands visible, badge catching the faint light. "Tyler," he called softly. "Put the gun down." Tyler spun, eyes wide. The gun came up on reflex, then wavered. "Back off," he shouted. "This is all your fault." "Mine?" Owen asked, keeping his voice calm. Every muscle in his body wanted to drop into a shooter's stance. "You're the one holding a loaded gun on school property. If you'd just let it go," Tyler ranted, voice cracking. "If you hadn't made a scene over some mutt, if Haley hadn't ratted, if Emily would just shut up." "That mutt bleeds like you do," Owen said. "Emily shakes like you do. You're not the only one scared here." Tyler's eyes glistened. The barrel drooped a fraction. "You think I want to be this guy?" he choked. "The crazy one? The bully? They expect it. My dad, he only sees me when I win. When I'm big. Loud. When I make other people small." Owen took a slow step forward. "You can choose not to be that guy." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. "Pretty soon this lot's going to be full of cops again," Owen went on. "Only this time, nobody's going to believe it's a toy. You point that thing at anyone tonight and someone's not going home. Maybe you. Maybe some janitor who walked out at the wrong time. Maybe one of us." Tyler's grip shook so hard the gun barrel wobbled. I don't know how to stop," he whispered. Rusty stepped out from behind the bus then, unable to stay put. He didn't charge. He walked slowly, deliberately, head low, tail still. A soft, questioning whine slipped from his throat. Tyler's gaze locked on him. On the faint paint stains. On the fur that had been under his spray can and then under SWAT lasers. On the eyes that weren't full of hate, just wary sadness. "I hurt you," Tyler said, To the dog more than to Owen? His voice broke. I heard all of you. Owen nodded. Yeah, he said. You did. So show them you can do one thing right. Drop the gun. For a long hung moment, the world held its breath. Then Tyler sucked in air like he was drowning and hurled the gun sideways, away from everyone. It clattered across the asphalt, skidding under a bench. He dropped to his knees right after, hands on his head, shoulders shaking. Mason sank down too, sobbing in relief. Rusty trotted over to the discarded gun, sniffed it, then barked sharply at it, backing away, as if announcing to the arriving sirens, this thing is the threat, not the boy. Garrett's cruiser slid in first, light strobing Ruiz's unmarked SUV right behind. Officers poured out, guns up then easing down as they saw Tyler kneeling, weapon on the ground, Owen's hands empty. They cuffed Tyler again, this time more gently, more firmly. Langford arrived 10 minutes later in his SUV, face twisted in a mask of indignation melted by fear. He saw the gun bagged, the evidence text, the way every officer's body language screamed this was real, and some of the bluster drained away. What have you done? He whispered to his son as they loaded him into the back of the car. Tyler's voice was hoarse. I almost did what you do, he said. Pretend it's all a game until someone gets hurt. Langford flinched like he'd been slapped. Later, at the station, charges would stack. Terroristic threats, brandishing a firearm on school grounds, animal cruelty, harassment, witness intimidation. Lawyers would circle. Headlines would scream. But in that parking lot, under the harsh glow of sodium lamps, the most important decision had already been made. A shaking teenager had dropped a gun instead of firing it. And a brown shelter mutt had chosen again to go for the weapon instead of flesh. Now one question remained for Owen: would the system see that? Or would it still try to make Rusty the villain? 3 months later, Rusty trotted into the small-town courthouse like he owned the polished floors. His fur had finally grown back where the vet had shaved paint-stained patches. Only the faintest green tint clung to a few hairs on his flank, a ghost of neon that refused to completely fade. Owen had decided to let it stay, a scar but also a badge. Emily sat on a wooden bench outside the juvenile courtroom, sneakers swinging a few inches above the floor. Her mom, still in her diner shoes, sat beside her, hands wrapped around a styrofoam coffee cup. Frank was there too in a pressed button-up, his old army cap tucked respectfully under his arm. Rusty went straight to Emily, nuzzling her knee. She smiled, then leaned down and hugged him, calmer now, the tremor mostly gone from her fingers. You ready? Owen asked her gently. She nodded. I wrote it down. What I want to say. You don't have to be perfect, he said. You just have to be honest. Inside, behind closed doors, the hearing churned. Lawyers spoke. Records were read. The IA report on Owen and Rusty had been presented weeks ago. No misconduct, no violation of use of force policy. A strongly worded recommendation came with it, too. Recognize Rusty as a certified emotional support animal for community outreach events. The chief had grumbled, then signed the paperwork. If we're keeping the mutt around, he'd said, we may as well give him a badge. Today, Rusty's new tag gleamed on his collar, right under his shelter ID. The bailiff opened the door. Victim statements, she called. Emily stood, knees wobbling, and walked in with Rusty and Owen flanking her like a tiny shaken honor guard. Juvenile court wasn't like the big trials on TV. The room was smaller, the lighting softer. Tyler sat at the defense table in a plain shirt and slacks, no varsity jacket, no swagger. His hands were free but restless, fingers knotting in his lap. His father sat behind him, looking 10 years older. The judge, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and no patience for nonsense, nodded to Emily. Go ahead, Miss Delaney. Emily swallowed and unfolded a crumpled sheet of paper. Her voice wobbled on the first sentence, then steadied. You scared me, she said, looking at Tyler. In the gym. On my street. You made my grandpa think something bad was coming for him again. Her eyes flicked to Rusty, who sat at heel, head high. You hurt Rusty too, she continued. You thought it was funny. But he still came to help me. He doesn't hate you. He doesn't even understand why you did it. She took a breath. I don't want you to go to prison forever or anything. I just want you to understand what you did. I want you to never do it to anyone else. I want to be able to walk to school and not look over my shoulder. Rusty shifted closer, brushing her hand with his nose. The judge's mouth softened. Thank you, Emily, the judge said. You were very brave. Frank spoke next, voice gravelly. He talked about coming home from deployment, about how headlights in the dark made his heart race, how seeing Gio die, on his own door had sent him back 30 years in a blink. "You kids think you're just messing around," he told Tyler quietly. "But some of us have ghosts living real close to the surface. You shook mine awake. That's not something you just laugh off." Finally, Owen took the stand. He told the story straight, no embellishing, no dramatics, of a rescue dog who'd been hurt for fun and then chosen again and again to run toward danger instead of away from it. He talked about his old K9 partner, the one who hadn't survived. About the way Rusty had stepped into that hole without knowing it was there. "And I'll be honest, Your Honor," he finished. "I was angry. Still am some days. But I don't want Tyler written off as a monster. I've seen actual monsters. This kid is something different. He's what happens when nobody tells you no soon enough and you start believing other people's pain doesn't count." He glanced at Tyler. "If the court can find a way for him to understand that better than a cell would, I'm for it." When it was Tyler's turn, he stood slowly. No lawyer spoke for him. He looked at Emily, at Frank, at Rusty, then at Owen. "I'm sorry," he said, the words clumsy and raw. "I'm not good at this. Saying stuff that isn't a joke. But I get it now. It wasn't just paint or content. It was people. It was a dog that trusted me for like half a second before I scared him." He swallowed. "I don't know how to fix it, but I want to try. If you let me." The judge listened, eyes steady. In the end, the sentence wasn't easy, but it wasn't a life-shatterer either. 18 months in a structured juvenile program. Mandatory counseling. No social media for a year. A strict no-contact order with Emily and Frank. And 600 hours of community service. At the county animal shelter, the judge added. "Since you seem to need a remedial education in compassion." Tyler blinked. Langford opened his mouth to object, then closed it when he saw the look on the judge's face. Outside afterward, in the weak winter sunlight, Owen clipped Rusty's leash while Emily and her mom hugged Frank. Langford and Tyler stepped out a few minutes later. For once, there were no cameras, no audience, just the people whose lives had actually been twisted by the last few months. Tyler approached slowly, stopping a few feet away. "Can I?" He gestured vaguely at Rusty. "Can I say hi?" Owen studied him. The kid's shoulders were lower. His eyes were quieter. "One try," Owen said. "If he doesn't want it, you respect that." Rusty looked up at Owen, then at Tyler. He sniffed the air, reading whatever invisible script dogs always seem to see. Then he stepped forward just enough and nudged Tyler's hand with his nose. Tyler exhaled like someone had punched the air out of him. "Hey buddy," he whispered. "Oh, I'm gonna be around dogs a lot, I guess." Rusty tolerated a tentative scratch behind his ear, then turned back to Emily, tail wagging brighter. Forgiveness, but with priorities. As they walked away, Emily slipped her hand into Owen's. "Do you think he'll really change?" she asked. Owen watched Tyler and his father cross the lot, their silhouettes smaller than they'd ever been. Rusty trotted ahead, ears perked, ready for whatever next small injustice he'd get to stick his nose into. "I think he has to choose it every day," Owen said. "Just like the rest of us." They passed by the strip mall on the way home. The cart corral was empty now. The glass on the grocery store gleamed with a new decal, a cartoon brown dog and the words, "Be kind. They feel it too." Linda from the register waved from inside. Rusty barked once, joyous. Owen smiled, feeling for the first time in a long while, that the scales inside him weren't tipped entirely toward regret. The world would keep producing bullies and men like Langford who thought money bought away consequences. But as long as there were kids like Emily, veterans like Frank, and scruffy brown rescues who'd take a hit and still come back wagging, there was something worth putting on the vest for. And if you ever saw someone lift a can of paint or a phone or a fake gun at someone weaker, what would you do? Look away or step in and change the ending?